Russo. We're going to be working through some of the instruction that we would have been able to do face-to-face on Monday the 25th, but obviously we can't be together because it is quite a mess out there still. Given that we do have an essay coming up pretty soon, though, I want to be sure that everybody goes through some of this work. We've got some stuff here that's going to help you start thinking a little bit more about analysis, even start thinking a little bit about thesis statements, although we won't really get to that until week 3. Please make sure that you go the whole way through this. There's also a PowerPoint attached in the week 2 folder. There's now the new folder that says Snow Day Instruction, so that should have everything you need. So, as a reminder, what we took a look at last class was this notion of analysis, and we talked about analyzing commercials. Remember, to analyze means to pull apart into pieces, to look for a bigger meaning or message in some object of analysis, to see how the various parts of some object of analysis work together to create meaning, and to see how each part works individually and together. So as we talked about, we can analyze all kinds of things. You can analyze a piece of visual art. You can analyze a movie. Certainly in many of your other classes, you're going to analyze some literature. You might analyze a historic document. Essentially, what analysis is it's asking how and why do I get some idea or meaning or message from some object of analysis. And it makes an argument about the argument created by the object of analysis. So you're no longer just making and supporting claims of your own, as you might have in the argument essay you probably finished in your 111 class, but you're creating an argument where you make claims about what the author's, artist's, creator's intention was. So let's take a look at how that might work when we're looking at something really simple. So let's say I'm looking at something like Harry Potter, okay, those novels. If I have the difference between opinion, argument, and analysis, what am I going to have there? Remember that we said my opinion would be something that's a mere personal belief. I love the Harry Potter novels. That cannot necessarily be supported. If it's something I like, then it's something I like, and it is what it is. If it's something I don't like, again, same thing, it is what it is. It's not something where I need to go out and find evidence. In the same way, if you said you like ice cream or you love Star Wars, then this isn't something you need evidence for. Therefore, that's just an opinion. And that can be a very important starting place for both argument and analysis, but that's just the starting place. Then when we move into an argument, just as you might have seen in, say, your English 111 class, you're making a claim that you could support with clear evidence. It has more than one side, and you could do some research to prove it, as well as perhaps disprove it. So let's say I put forth the argument, the Harry Potter novels contain many key lessons for children about history, diversity, and courage, and so teachers should include them in the reading curriculum for elementary school-aged children. Okay, that's certainly a claim that could be proven. I could talk to school librarians. I could do research on child literacy. I could look at how the books might have been used in other places. I could try to find studies about them. There's a lot of things I could do to prove that, or to perhaps change that thesis, disprove that thesis by doing research. And certainly there could be another side. There's probably teachers out there that would say, no, these books are not as good as some of the classic pieces of evidence, but that's what an argument is. What we're going to be moving into in our English 112 class, as we discussed in our last class meeting, of course, is analysis. It's also an argument in that we can find evidence, but we're going to find it in the text itself. So an analysis of those might be something like, in the Harry Potter novels, J.K. Rowling creates characters such as Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge and Undersecretary Dolores Umbridge to criticize real-world government officials for their obsession with power and order at the expense of the public. So right there, what I'm doing is I'm looking at something in the text itself, these characters and how the author wrote them, the word choices she might use, and explain how and why that might lead me to some conclusion about what this deeper meaning of the book is. And again, it's something people could agree or disagree with. They could say, no, that those characters were just there for humorous effect, or they were really criticizing something else, but it's a claim I could make and support. And that's the type of work we're going to be doing in our first essay, and really in all 3 essays. We're going to be looking at an object. In our first essay, that's going to be that commercial, and trying to make some form of argument about this is what the meaning is. This is how a message gets across to an audience. So, think about our first week's class, which was a while ago now. When we watched this advertisement, the one with M&M for Chrysler, we came up with a lot of ideas for what the advertisement could mean. Sure, it wanted us to sell cars, but it was also giving us other ideas, feelings, and messages. What were some of those? Let's take a quick look at that one more time and think about what those messages could be.
I got a question for you. What does this city know about luxury? What does it a town that's been to hell and back know about the finer things in life? Well, I'll tell you, more than most. You see, it's the hottest fires that make the hardest steel. Add hard work and conviction, and the know-how that runs generations deep in every last one of us. That's who we are. That's our story. Now, it's probably not the one you've been reading in papers, the one being written by folks who've never even been here and don't know what we're capable of. Because when it comes to luxury, it's as much about where it's from as who it's for. Now, we're from America, but this isn't New York City, or the Windy City, or Sin City, and we're certainly no one's Emerald City.
This is the Motor City, and this is what we do.
Okay, so we'd already taken a look at that one. Seen and talked about how that one could possibly have meanings beyond just the, let's just shut that guy down now, beyond just the surface meaning. Obviously the surface meaning there is, yeah, go buy a Chrysler. But what other images or ideas did we get out of that? We actually came up with quite a few. Let's get back to that slide. Oops. I believe that was right about, sorry for that one, there we go. Sorry about going a little bit backwards. So we talked about what type of reactions we had. We got ideas of patriotism, tradition, resistance, somebody being proud or special. And these are just a few of the things you guys came up with. If you remember, we filled up pretty much the whole board on January 11th. But we talked afterwards, after we came up with this list of ideas, about where we got them. And so if I was just to go through these four, I might get certain things for patriotism, like the large American flags, that phrase imported from Detroit that ends the ad, really playing with that idea. Or if I was to look at something like the idea of being proud or special, we've got Eminem as the hometown boy who did well. The figure skater, which Isadora was so kind as to point out was somebody who's actually a very well-known figure skater and a champion. The running sports team, or even the image of the car itself is clean and flashy. These are all how we're getting there. Starting right there, we're already starting with this notion of analysis. We're asking ourselves, how and why does this advertisement have meaning that's perhaps bigger than itself? So, next week, week 3, we're going to start writing our essay. As you can see, your homework for week 3, due at the start of week 4 class, is to write the intro of your essay. This week, you're going to be discussing your assigned commercials and groups, and then you're going to use those to write the essays. For a preview of where we're going to go in week 3, let's take a look at how we might write a thesis for this commercial, the M&M commercial that we just looked at. Let's say I wanted to focus on that aspect of resistance. So some of the things that I get when I get that feeling of being resistant or defiant somehow is that image of the steel fist when the narrator mentions this isn't New York City or the Windy City or Sin City, as if to show pride in people not being from a fancy place, right? New York City is normally supposed to be, a place that people aspire to. The Windy City of Chicago, also very well known, but there seems to be some pride in not being there. Or when the narrator calls out people who have never even been here, when he's talking about what people say about Detroit. So my goal here is going to be to claim that in addition to the obvious surface goal of Chrysler, which is to get people to buy the car, that's obviously what any ad is doing on the surface, buy me, they're somehow effectively conveying that the car brings the owner some bit of this resistance attitude. that you're buying the idea alongside the car. And that's one of the things that you're all going to be looking at as you look at the products they're being advertised. I've put together a series of ads and randomly assigned you to one. They're all ads for pretty quotidian products, nothing too fancy, things you'd use every day. And yet when you look at the ad, you'll see that they're trying to say that you're not just getting this everyday thing, or you're really getting a lot more with it. And so if we're going to look at this, yes, you're getting a car, but what does a car have to do about resistance? Well, here we've already thought about some ideas how the advertiser is playing with that. So, in the week 3 folder, if you did want to look ahead, you'll see some suggested templates for making such claims. Some ways that we can connect. What do I see on the screen? What type of feeling does that give me? And how is an advertiser perhaps using that to effectively get me to think about their product or hopefully even buy their product? So if I try that with our idea of resistance, a potential thesis I might have, focusing on that notion of resistance and focusing on a few specific aspects of the ad with M&M might be, though it may at first seem simple, the Chrysler commercial actually implies the product brings a sense of resistance and defiance to the viewer through strategies such as bold word choices and images of strength. That would be a claim I could support. I could write several paragraphs talking about the specific things that the advertisement does with regards to both its words and its images to make me think that if I buy this car, I'm somehow also buying into that idea of resistance and defiance to whatever that norm or status quo is. So what's up for you next? Well, you've got some chance to practice these analysis with 2 assignments. These are going to be making up essentially for what our in-class work would have been. All of the instructions are on Blackboard, so make sure that you do go into that folder labeled Snow Day 12516 and take a look at all those instructions. You're going to write one individual journal for me, looking at that ad, the M&M ad, with 2 other ads. And so there's some links right there. Kate Walsh in a Cadillac and the Dodge Commercial Wisdom. It's all about cars, but there's very different strategies. And as you'll see in the instructions in the Blackboard folder, very, very different strategies going on here and some interesting ways to poke apart how are these products all conveying different messages. Next, you're going to write a discussion board post on one of the following public service announcements, or PSAs, or nonprofit ads. So I gathered these from a couple of countries. We've got 2 from England, 1 from America, and 1 from Italy. Links are there. PSAs and nonprofits have very clear arguments in them, okay? So if you're a public service announcement or if you're a nonprofit, you're trying to get your viewer to accept a certain idea or support a cause versus buying something. So they're not trying to get you to buy a car. They're a little bit more overt about the fact that they're playing with your feelings. That's why they're a great place to start with analysis, because you know that that's what they're doing from the start, as opposed to with an ad, it might be easy to say, well, obviously they just want me to buy the product. So again, there are specific instructions for what you'll need to do here for your discussion board posting, but I hope that these will also give you another chance to practice this idea of saying, hey, there's something bigger going on here in these advertisements. You are also now in your peer groups for the commercial essays, because as you will see in week 3 hybrid, you do have some things that are due at the start of week 3 with the discussion board for this, which means that you are going to need to get started on them now. So as you write your own essay, you will get to discuss your assigned ad with your peers. You will be still turning in the individual written work for the actual essay itself, but this will give you a chance to start. So you can find your group. You've been assigned randomly, mostly just using the alphabet, and the discussion board 2 ways on Blackboard. You can either start at the main page and just click at peer groups, and that'll get you right in and you can see the discussion board. Or if you're in the week 3 folder, if you're in hybrid, you will see there's a link that says peer group discussion commercials. That will also take you right to your peer group. So everybody's assigned to one of 4 groups, so you've got either 6 or 7 people that are going to be in your group. And of course, don't neglect the updated schedule. This is also online on Blackboard, so make sure that you take a look at that. I've added in those due dates for you. As you can see, you've got some stuff due this week, and you do have things that are going to be due, including part 1 of that peer group discussion is going to be due on February 1st. So that is before we meet for week 3, and then you can see that there's some other things due. So let's certainly hope that we don't get snowed out for week 3. If anybody has any questions, you guys know how to find me. I'm available via email, and I will be updating that on Blackboard as well. So have a great time, guys. Hope that this helps you begin to understand a little bit better.